Welcome in. I am Kai, and Erica is giving a keynote at an educators conference in Seattle, so she asked me to keep the lights on and the lesson moving while she is out. Most veterans filing VA disability claims start with a veteran service organization, and for a first claim with solid service records, that is the right call. The problem is that many veterans stay with a VSO through a second denial, a third denial, a Board of Veterans Appeals hearing, and sometimes all the way to the Court of Appeals for veterans' claims using a level of representation that was never designed for that complexity. Every year of the wrong representation level is a year of delayed benefits.
Grace here. The first warning sign is straightforward. If you have received 2 or more denials on the same service, connected claim, and the VSO's approach has not changed, the representation is not keeping pace with the appeal. Repeated denials on a legitimately service-connected condition usually signal a missing evidence strategy, and VA-accredited attorneys approach that evidence problem differently.
Arjun here. The second warning sign is the case type itself. If your appeal is heading to the Court of Appeals for veterans' claims, you need a licensed attorney by law, because VSOs cannot represent at CAVC. If you need to file a clear and unmistakable error motion, the legal standard and drafting requirements are attorney-level work.
Isabella here. Warning signs 3 and 4 come from the administrative record itself. If a VSOer missed a filing deadline that affected the effective date of your claim, an attorney can sometimes recover that date through specific motions. And if your conditions are severe enough to warrant an extra scheduler rating above the standard rating schedule maximum, that requires a different advocacy approach than a standard claim filing.
Small rotation today. Let us do a roll call.
Grace here. A great move is one that limits their good replies.
Arjun here. Every optimization has a loss function. I will ask what we are losing.
Isabella here. I came to make this memorable, not just technically correct.
The panel is on board for the episode, and we are casting off into the topic now. Last episode, we walked through the 7-step annual review. Today the question is, when the complexity of your case exceeds what a VSO is designed to handle. The core difference is that a VA-accredited attorney approaches your case as a legal matter, building an evidentiary record and a legal argument, not just completing and submitting paperwork.
Clear and unmistakable error motions are a good example of the capability gap. A CUE motion argues that a prior VA decision contained a specific legal or factual error that would have changed the outcome at the time. If successful, it can reopen a decades-old decision and assign a retroactive effective date going back to the original claim, potentially unlocking years of back pay.
Tapala, PA. Medical nexus coordination is another area where attorneys bring a different resource base. Experienced VA attorneys maintain relationships with independent medical examiners who write C&P quality nexus letters for conditions where the VA exam was inadequate or unfavorable. DAT network of medical experts is typically not available through a VSO.
And at the CAVC level, Grace, the representation gap becomes a legal requirement. The Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims is a federal Article 1 court and practice before it requires bar admission or specific court admission. A VSO representative at that stage simply cannot appear on your behalf.
The fee question is the one that stops most veterans from even researching the attorney option. The actual structure under 38 CFR Section 14.636 caps attorney fees at 20% of retroactive back pay recovered, applied only to the lump sum back payment, never to future monthly compensation.
The fee is only collectible if 2 conditions are met. First, the veteran must have filed a notice of disagreement on the denied claim before retaining the attorney. Second, the attorney must win the case. A veteran who retains an attorney and loses owes nothing in attorney fees under the standard VA representation agreement.
For cases that reach the Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims, there is an additional mechanism worth knowing. The Equal Access to Justice Act allows the CAVC to award attorney fees payable by the government when the VA's position was not substantially justified. Peer. In those cases, the veteran may pay little or nothing in attorney fees even on a winning appeal.
Turns out, the no-win, no-fee structure actually aligns the attorney's incentive with the veteran's outcome. An attorney who accepts a case is betting their own time on winning. That is a real selection filter. Attorneys who know VA law accept cases they believe are winnable, and that initial assessment is itself a form of free evaluation of your claim.
The starting point for finding a qualified attorney is the VA Office of General Counsel Accreditation Search, available at the VA's OGC accreditation page online. That search returns attorneys who are currently accredited by VA to practice before the agency. Accreditation requires a state bar license and a completed VA application, so the list is already filtered.
Verify both credentials separately, GRACE. A current state bar license in good standing plus current VA accreditation. State bars publish disciplinary histories publicly, and that history is worth checking before your first consultation.
In the initial consultation, ask specifically about the volume of VA disability cases the attorney has handled, their experience with the specific claim type you have, and their history with compensation and pension examinations. An attorney who rarely handles VA cases but is otherwise competent is a different resource than one who has handled hundreds of cases at the same stage as yours.
The red flags are specific. Any attorney who requests upfront fees before the notice of disagreement stage is violating federal law on VA representation fees. Any attorney who guarantees a specific rating outcome or promises a win is misrepresenting what VA law allows. Both of those are disqualifying, and the VA OGC takes complaints about fee violations seriously.
The transition from VSO to attorney is a two-document process. Revoking the existing VSO power of attorney happens automatically when you appoint a new representative using VA Form 21-22, which is the standard form for appointing a VSO, or you can submit VA Form 21-22A for an individual accredited representative.
VA Form 21-22. A is the specific form for appointing an individual attorney or claims agent rather than an organization. It requires the attorney's name, their VA accreditation number from the OGC database, and your signature. That form, once submitted to VA, is the official record of the new representation.
Pending claims are not affected by the representative change. Processing continues while the new representation is established, and the VA sends future correspondence to both you and your new attorney once the form processes. The transition does not pause or restart any open claim.
Before or during a transition, request your complete C-file from the VA. Your C-file is your complete claims history, every decision, every piece of evidence, every correspondence. Arjun, that file is the foundational document your new attorney will review to understand the full history of your case and identify issues the prior representation may have missed.
The National Veterans Legal Services Program, NVLSP, provides free VA-accredited attorney representation for eligible veterans through its national legal program. Their attorneys handle complex appeals, including CAVC cases, at no cost to the veteran. Wait until you see how many veterans qualify for NVLSP services who assume they cannot afford an attorney.
State-based legal aid programs are another resource that varies by location, but often covers VA claims. Many states fund pro bono veteran legal assistance programs through their bar foundations or state Veterans Affairs departments. A search through your state bar's pro bono or legal aid listings is worth running before assuming you need to retain a paid attorney.
Law school clinics are the third resource and are available in many states. These clinics provide VA claims assistance under the supervision of licensed attorneys, often at no cost. The quality is supervised by faculty attorneys, and the students who staff these clinics have specific training in VA law.
If you forget everything else in this video, remember, the decision to upgrade from a VSO to a VA-accredited attorney is not a criticism of VSOs, it is a recognition that different stages of a claim require different levels of legal expertise. After 2 denials on the same issue, or any time CAVC is a realistic next step, that is the moment to make the call. Drop in the comments, have you worked with a VA attorney, and what changed in your claims process?
Okay, it is quiz time. Let's find out what's stuck. Think through each question carefully before you answer.
If this is clicking for you, smash that like button and hit subscribe. It keeps this series alive.
Under federal regulation, what is the maximum fee a VA-accredited attorney can charge for winning a veteran's disability appeal? The correct answer is D. 20% of the retroactive back pay recovered, applied only to the lump sum back payment and only when the veteran wins the appeal.
Who is permitted to represent a veteran at the Court of Appeals for veterans' claims? The correct answer is C. P.S. Only licensed attorneys who are admitted to practice before the CAVC may represent veterans at that court level.
What VA form does a veteran use to appoint an individual accredited attorney as their representative? The correct answer is B. VA, Form 21-22A, which is the appointment form for an individual accredited attorney or claims agent rather than a VSO organization.
Here's the core takeaway. VSOs are the right starting point for most first claims, but complex appeals, CUE motions, and CAVC cases require VA-accredited attorney representation. The fee structure is 20% of retroactive back pay only, and only if you win. NVLSP and state legal aid provide that representation for free if you qualify.
3 years from now, the veteran who upgraded representation at the right moment will have resolved claims that have been sitting in the system for years. The veteran who did not will still be wondering why the same denial keeps coming back.
Next episode, the one condition cluster that generates the most complex rating packages in the VA system, and the reason why each residual needs its own separate filing.
If this episode helped clarify when to escalate your representation, subscribe and turn on notifications so you catch the rest of the series.
Great series so far.
Shortest path to useful. Take it without apology.
Erica just texted a fire emoji, a star emoji, and a single word, cast.
Kai, signing off.